Hello, everyone, and welcome to part 3 of our Soulgasm workshop series. I'm so excited to be talking to you guys today about human design. So why is human design so important when it comes to understanding yourself in relationships? In this context, we're going to be using it as an awareness tool, which is just a continuation of everything that Zyron was telling you about in part 2. In part 2, you talked about how to understand your patterns and your behaviors based on past experiences, whereas human design is more about understanding who you came here to be before all of that stuff happened to you. So if you don't know, human design is a system that uses your date, time, and place of birth to produce a chart. The chart that you saw on the previous slide is mine. The chart reveals specific mechanics about your auric field and how you are designed to move through the world. We are all very different, and this is about how you specifically operate, and it helps give language to your lived experience. So if you would like to download your own chart, you can go to my website, hdbyz.com/individual, and download as many charts as you want. I would start with yours, but if there's somebody really close to you in your life who you want to understand a bit more, this part of the workshop will really help with that. I want to give you an example also of how this system has really helped me when communicating with others in my life. So I spent the better part of my adult life in New York City, which is very hustle, bustle, go, go, go type of city. And I was a social butterfly. If there was a party, I was there. I had a real hard time missing out on things. The FOMO was super real. And when I met human design, I was really burnt out on giving my energy away and for always being available to people. So when I started learning about myself and I found out that I have a lot of energy, but it's designed for me to use as I want, and that I'm a person who needs to recharge their social battery quite frequently, it started to make a lot of sense that when I overdid my socializing, I would end up getting sick. I am not a person who can overdo it with things and not suffer the consequences. So now I'm a little bit more intentional about the way that I use my energy and how I socialize with other people, because I really want to make the most out of life, but I don't want it to come at my own expense. And I can do this without blaming other people or getting resentful or getting frustrated or angry in any given situation, whether that's a romantic partnership or a friendship or something to do with my family. So let's get into it so we can talk about ways in which you can use your energy in a more efficient way. So if you've downloaded a chart on my website, you will see that at the very top, it will say type or aura type. And this refers to your electromagnetic field of influence. Your aura is the thing that people meet when they first meet you. It's your vibe before you even open your mouth. And 70% of the population are generator or manifesting generator aura types. You can see I denoted that as MG. And we have, yes, I'm an MG myself, we have what is called an open and enveloping aura, which is designed to pull things in, to be magnetic. But the thing is that we've been taught to go out and put our energy into all sorts of things and not wait for things to come to us. So if you are a generator aura type and you are seeing this video, this is your permission slip that you are not here to chase. You're here to respond, to see where your energy wants to move. And this includes people. So if there's somebody that you're really vibing with, that you're really feeling connected to, or somebody who you're really not feeling at all, this is your permission that you don't need to continue to chase or go after just because your mind is telling you that that's the correct thing. Your body knows where it wants to go and what it wants to put its energy towards. It's far beyond the mind's capacity to understand. So we're going to move on to the projector aura type, which is 20% of the population. And right there you can see generators and projectors make up about 90% of humanity, which is a lot. So projectors have what we call a focused and absorbing aura, which means that they are designed to see other people's energy, pick up on that energy field, and guide the energy in ways that are more efficient. But projectors are designed to be invited to do this. So a lot of the time, the ideal is for generators and projectors to collaborate with one another, but they oftentimes end up in romantic partnerships because it's very attractive one to the other. And this is not about seeing who's better fit with who. It's more about understanding how to cooperate best. So generators are designed to invite projectors, especially when it comes to partnership. And this has nothing to do with gender roles, right? So traditionally, the gender roles dictate that the masculine is the one that pursues the other or courts the other in some way. And this doesn't necessarily apply when we start to look at these different aura dynamics and mechanics. We're moving on to the manifestor aura type, which is about 9% of the population, so not a lot at all. And these beings have what we call a closed and repelling aura. This doesn't mean that they are repellent as people. In fact, a lot of the manifestors I know are extremely vibrant and very magnetic, but their aura is closed. And so if you are in a partnership with or are a manifestor yourself, you may have received feedback that it's hard to kind of get to you because it's not about being able to get in and penetrate that aura like the generator aura type is, which is the majority of the population. So it feels unusual to be unable to kind of get in there, but the manifestor is designed to have impact on others. And that's why they have this protective shell. And in fact, this also means that they are here to be very vocal about what it is that they want to do, what it is that they're going to do, so that their impact, whoever is impacted by their actions, can brace for that impact. And this is where manifestors are generally more drawn to other manifestor aura types because it's a very independent way of being in the world, being able to initiate whatever it is that you want on the physical plane. And so manifestors often feel like they need a lot of breathing room or a lot of freedom within a relationship. And if they can get it, they will be very appreciative of it. Finally, we come to the reflector aura type, which is about 1% of the population. It's very rare. And these beings have a sampling and resistant aura, which is really about the fact that they are very open in their charts. And so they are a lot like Teflon. They have a closed aura as well. They like to sample people's auric fields and see if that's something that they're into. But if they feel any sort of resistance from them, they usually walk away. So reflectors are very unusual in that way, and they take a long time to really get to know you and vice versa. So these are beings that need a lot longer in order to know whether you are correct for them or not. So we've covered the aura types. There's 4 aura types. The MG is a subtype of an aura. And now I want to talk about emotionality. When we think of relationships in general, we think of emotions, but emotions are also a mechanic. So if you look at your chart and under inner authority, it says emotional solar plexus, then you are about 50% of the population. And these beings have what we call a defined solar plexus or colored in solar plexus. The slide on the left is what you're looking at. And these beings put out a wave frequency, an emotional wave that goes up and down and needs time for clarity, because you need time to go through your various emotional cycles in order to feel whether something is correct for you. The other 50% of the population is open emotional. And you can see that on the right side of the screen is not colored in your chart, which means that you are a person who takes in emotional frequency in a distorted and amplified way, which can feel extremely overwhelming at times, but it can also feel really good. So there is definitely an attraction principle between those who are emotional and those who are open, but we're here to really distinguish who's who in a relationship. And I personally believe that if we knew this one basic thing about somebody out there in the world, the entire planet would be a whole different place, right? So the emotional authority is the one putting out the emotional wave. The open emotional person is taking it in, distorted and amplified, and can take that very personally. And this is the planet we live on. So whether you're open or defined, we live in an emotional world, and emotions are something that really dictates the way that we relate to one another. But if you're an open emotional being, you're not here to make emotional decisions. You are here to tune into your own inner authority and not get swept up in other people's emotions, because they don't belong to you. They're just designed to pass through you. And one of the reasons why it's important to understand who's who in any given dynamic is because those who need more time may seem like they're shuffling their feet or withholding or something along those lines when it comes to your relationship dynamic, but it's really that they are still waiting out their wave for clarity and can't necessarily commit on the timeline that an open emotional person can. All right, now we've come to the bonding strategy of each profile line in human design, which I personally believe is the secret sauce of this system. So if you look at the list of descriptions on your chart, you will see a profile which consists of two numbers, and we're really going to be looking at the first number, because the first number is the representation of your conscious self. And that's really how we show up in relationships. The conscious part of us shows up. And it's not that I'm saying the unconscious part isn't relevant, but for the purposes of this exercise, I really want you to tune into that first number. So if you're a first line in human design, you are what we call an investigator, somebody that needs to make sure that the foundation is steady. This goes for your relationships as well. And the way that you bond is either you are the pursuer or the pursued in your relationship. Again, this is not about whether or not you are male or female and play into these traditional gender roles. It's more about what your preferences are in these cases. So if you feel like you are on steady ground, if you feel like the foundation is steady, you can be the pursuer. But more often than not, first lines are pursued in their relationships, again, whether or not they're male or female. If you are a second line as the first part of your profile, your bonding strategy is shyness or boldness. And usually this is a progression. The second line is a hermit. They aren't necessarily out there trying to be seen. And so they can come off as kind of shy, especially when it comes to physical intimacy. But once they become comfortable, once you become part of their safety, they can become quite bold. They don't usually start off that way. If you are third line in your profile, your bonding strategy is bonds made and broken. And the caveat to this is and made again. So third lines have a trial and error process. They learn through experience, and sometimes they need to break bonds and leave a relationship in order to understand what it was about that relationship that was working or not working, and they can come back around and make the bond again. And this also refers to the idea that third lines need to break the bond within their relationship, meaning they need to have time away from it. So like going to work during the day or something along those lines. If you're a fourth line, your bonding strategy is confidant or not, which is really about the fact that fourth lines are networkers. They're naturally out there in the world seeking connections through various different networks, but it takes time for them to really create intimacy by really sharing themselves with somebody else and seeing whether or not that person is a safe confidant to them or not. And if not, then usually they will no longer pursue that relationship or that connection and do what we call fourth line abdication, which is sort of disappear. If you're a fifth line, you are somebody who gets projected on a lot, and more often than not, you are projected on as the seducer and rarely the seduced. Although a lot of the time, fifth lines, because of this projection field, are very attractive and we see them as these heroes and these saviors. So it is very seductive to be around them and we become the seducers, even if that is not our traditional role. And six lines, the role models, have a bonding strategy of soulmate or not. And the reason for this is these people are a little bit removed from all of the other profile lines. They are what we call on the roof of the house, as the analogy for the way that we move through these lines. And the six lines are often looking down at all of the other profiles and kind of assessing where everybody is. So they see a bigger picture. And for them, it's really important when they meet someone to see how that person fits into every aspect of their life, not just the romantic category necessarily. And that's why they're here looking for the real deal. They're no longer available for casual interactions and things like that. Their values are much more about seeing how somebody could be a life partner to them, in which case, they're not really open or available for anything other than that. So these are the bonding strategies for the profiles. And even though the first number in your profile really denotes this conscious value system, I'm sure that the second number in your profile also rang true when you were listening to me list these off. So let's go over some of the key takeaways. First, I want to make sure you're very clear about how unique and different we all are. When I actually had my first human design reading, I was able to not only look at my own chart, but look at some of the charts of the people closest to me in my life. And I could see how different we all were. And that really helped me to start to see how important it is to understand these aspects about somebody else so that I can honor their process as well as my own. And that brings us to point number 2. There are potentially different ways to honor yourself than you originally thought. Everybody has different values and neither one is better or worse than your own, but it's important to understand that when they are standing up for those values, they're not doing it to you or against you. It's not personal. And that is where this system really sings. And getting to know someone and letting them close to you takes longer for different people. So it's about having patience with the other person and understanding what these value systems might be, what their inner authority is, how their energy moves, what they need from you, what you need from them, in order to understand how to cooperate in a more smooth and harmonious way. And that's it for my section, guys. Thank you so much for watching this. We're so happy to have you here. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, hello@hdbyz.com. I'd love to answer any of your questions. And if there's anything else that you need from me, check out my site, hdbyz.com, or you can even DM me at hdbyz on Instagram or on TikTok. Thank you guys so much. Ciao for now.